The hardest path in product building is not the happy path. It's always about 20% of the corner cases, I would say. In a period of time, I was also checking about procurement domain, and in that, let's take an example of processing purchase invoices. Okay, there are different products nowadays. AI enhanced products are also doing great job, but for example, price variance, missing purchase order, or CFO or CEO's direct approval, all those cases, right? So let me show you what I built in a couple of days, and why the architecture I see that it is more interesting. Most AP automation tools are built on rules. If the PO matches, approve. If the vendor is known, proceed. If the amount is under threshold, auto clear. That actually works, but until it doesn't. What I mean? Because real invoices don't follow rules. A vendor changes their pricing mid of the contract. A purchase order gets verbally amended by a CFO or CEO. A new supplier comes in on a rushed procurement. None of that fits a rule. So the invoice gets flagged, sits in a queue, waits for the approval, discussions goes on, and sometimes it takes some time to manually chase it down. What I come to say is rule-based systems are great at handling cases they have seen before. They completely break on cases they haven't. That's where today's AI agents are fundamentally changing the game, and that's where procurement tools are also behind. So instead of matching against a condition, they reason through context. They can weight a missing PO agent, which a CEO has approval note, and it can make a judgment call, just like a human would. That shift from workflow automation to context aware agentic pipelines is what the build that I have built is all about. So notice what the submitter notes field is really doing. It is not a free text box. It's a human injecting real world context into the agent's reasoning loop, right? So even it could be a supply disruption as well, a verbal CFO approval, an exception no rule would ever catch. That pattern is worth watching, I guess, right? And right now, that context lives in a prompt field, manual, one time, forgotten after the decision. But where this is heading, it is actually heading towards agents maintaining a persistent context graph, right? So the vendor relationships, approval histories, policy exceptions, organizational text, every invoice enriches the context graph. The context graph actually shapes the next decision. That's where the human mode actually lies in. We are all moving from stateless pipelines to a stateful context aware AI agent networks that learn the shape of the organization over time. This AP invoice processing is a narrow problem, but it's a perfect lens to see this shift clearly. The edge cases are actually real. The human judgment required is well understood. And honestly, what excites me isn't the architecture or what I have been building with Cloud Code with a couple of days, the prompts, architecture, and all those things, but it's the finance team that has been manually chasing down the 20% of invoices forever. That's who this is really for. If this resonated, maybe we can follow along, and I'll keep sharing what I'm learning at the intersection of the product thinking and agentic AI as well.